529.
God bless you. Welcome to the Hour of Power. I am the proud pastor, Pastor Michael Bush, pastor of New Jerusalem Church of God in Christ. And we're coming to you live from the store of Healthy You. This is the Hour of Power, and we thank God for you tuning in. We ask that you would like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family that we are on. And if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, write it in the chat room, and we will get to it. Again, we thank you for tuning in. Um, we thank you for your time. We thank you for God giving us life and strength and health. And we thank God for you. We thank God for my beautiful wife and my beautiful mother. I want to jump right in. So much has happened in the last 4 or 5 days, and my wife is writing to me to pray. I'm not going to start off with prayer. I want to jump. I want to jump right in because I'm upset. We've been taught to respect leadership. We've been taught, as it relates to the president, we've been taught to pray for him and ask God to lead and to guide him. But because when you add a but or it erases everything you previously said.
Right.
I want you to understand that. And so we have to be careful with how we talk, because if you say but or, you are erasing everything you previously said. And so people are real slick. So they say real nice stuff and then add a but or an or. So you just erased everything you said. So I don't want to get into that. And at the same time, I want to talk about the actions of our president. It's troubling. It's troubling to me, but it's troubling because when we should be upset, we not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're treating this as if another scheme, another tactic of the president. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we have really really realized the severity of his actions in the last week.
Right.
And so Thursday, and I want to jump right in it. If you have any questions, please write it in your comments, and we will get to it. Before I start, I want to say happy birthday and happy anniversary to the Jacksons. We love you. We thank God for you. We thank God that you in Detroit kicking the devil's butt, and that's what we need. And so we thank God for your ministry. We thank God for the jewels that God has given to the body of Christ. So happy birthday, Pastor Jackson, and happy anniversary, Pastor and Lady Jackson. I want to get right into it. The Trump. Thursday, I think he tested positive. Friday, they took him to the hospital. And then we can talk about the chain of events from there. So my first question is, what was your initial thought when you heard Trump testing positive? Because again, a whole lot has happened. The debates, which was a debacle, which was someone called it a clown show, and I was watching Van Jones, and one of the clowns or the clown company texted Van Jones and said, "We take great pride." The clown said, "We take great pride in being clowns, so don't put it on us."
Wow.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But so we have the debates, we have whatever that was, and then from there to here, I'll go last. What was your initial thoughts when you heard Trump testing positive?
Well, for myself, not only did we have the debates, we had the exposure of his taxes and what was going on with that on top of it. So when I first heard it, I thought it was a distraction. I thought it was an intentional ploy to distract us from his horrible performance in the debate and what was going on with his taxes. Because now, if you think about it, none of the news channels have mentioned either of those things. It immediately shut that down and shifted the focus to coronavirus and him being infected. So now that's all that's talked about. But when you see the number of people that have now come up positive since the event, I do think that there is some truth to him potentially being infected. I don't know. But again, that's all his cabinet. Those are all his people. So if it is fake, they're all in agreement with this act. It will be really interesting, in my opinion, to see if any of them get severely ill, because when you look at the odds and how this is impacting people, you have 24 positives at minimum. Somebody in that 24 you would think would get pretty severely ill. So unless we hear about that, that would cause me some concern, or kind of cause me to question what's going on, and or what access they have to healthcare that us normal people don't. So I think my first reaction, which I am probably not supposed to have, is I thought it was karma. I thought if he truly has this experience, he needs to have it, because he's made a mockery of this virus and the people that have been infected with it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was thinking along the same lines. The way the whole thing has been handled has been so horrifically careless. I don't see a lot of compassion for the lives that have been lost. And there's no comparison to the care that he's getting in comparison to what about the people that don't have insurance? And then we're hearing about a lot of different things now because he supposedly had it. But after I watched the debate, I was almost in tears because I could not believe in this day and time that something like that would be national. Something like that would be allowed to be on television. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my eyes. No questions were really answered. I mean, that was just a big fight. But I did say when I went to bed that night, I prayed and I was like, I'm so embarrassed. I'm humiliated about this. This was horrible. And I said, one or two things have to happen. Either he's going to go into the hospital sick, or he's going to say he has corona. Mm. And, you know, those were the only two options that would, and we're so quickly distracted, as Dr. Bush said, it doesn't take much to distract us. So another killing wouldn't have been the right thing to do. But there are enough people, and we're not ruthless or heartless. We're people of compassion. Just the thought of the president really having corona is a serious situation. We've had so many people to die of corona. So I can't believe that somebody would be calling wolf. But then again, it's not impossible because they've been crying wolf since February. They knew it was airborne. A lack of compassion for lives. So a lot of people that probably could still be alive, if they had known the truth, if they would still be alive, because they would have taken the precaution to know that this is airborne from day one. And maybe they would have protected themselves and their family. So, I mean, I'm so disappointed, and I'm really being very, very careful what I say, because my message is pray for those that are in authority. And he is in authority. I just don't understand how you, without medical knowledge, can call the shots, and you have medical people around you getting paid very good, and they're submitting to this false lie. So I don't know if he has it or not, but I know that it's been enough to stop talking about the taxes and to stop talking about the debate. I haven't heard anything else about the debate.
When I first heard he had tested positive, several things ran through my mind. The first thing ran through my mind is this is a ploy to take the eyes off of what just has happened. But the second thing I thought about is I really need him to have this. Mm-hmm. And I need him to experience, and I don't wish harm or ill will on anyone. Mm-hmm. And I want to be careful in how I come off, but I needed him to have this and experience what 200, not experience what 200,000 people
Mhm.
felt,
Mhm.
but experience the severity and the seriousness of this virus.
Mhm.
Because I felt like if he didn't, he would make a mockery out of it
Mhm.
and lead his followers,
Mhm.
because it's a large amount of people that think this is a hoax anyway, that think this is fake. And so therefore I think it's fake. I'm not going to protect myself and I'm not going to protect. And so they walk around um, just unprotected. And those are the people that you got to say, step back. Those are the people that you got to say, you too close, um, and we talked about it. If you got to say that if you got to tell somebody you too close, then maybe we shouldn't be there.
Right.
But those are the people that is really hurting society, in my opinion. And so I felt like that dog whistle,
Mhm.
if you will, that whistle, he would rally up his support
Mhm.
to the ones that are saying this is not that, this is not real, this is phony. Um, and those people will rise up and stand up even more. And and so that's why I felt like he really got to have this thing.
Mhm.
I thought about the fact that it could be a ploy to get our eyes off of something to focus on something else. Um, but I was really hoping that it was the real thing to show the severity and the realness of this virus. 200,000 people. That's more. Um, that's more than the people in this region.
Mhm.
You know, if you look at the map, that's about almost the number of the people in this region.
Mhm.
So when you look at it, nationwide, it may not be a large number, but bring it here, it'll wipe out the whole region.
Mhm.
So it's not just numbers, it's lives, it's people's loved ones, it's family members. This is real. This is real time. I mean, this is not nothing made up. We are living in real time, and so I really needed the severeness and the severity, the seriousness of this disease to pop up, and not just be another dog whistle or another uh, ploy sideshow. And that's where I was. Um, Watching the news, can't get heads and tails of his condition. He's the president. He's the president. So naturally, you are afforded uh, compensation. You're afforded medicines that may not be available to the public. I understand that. Um, and then his doctors, when they did speak, one of the things I got from it is they said he wasn't out the woods.
Mhm.
Some of the medicines that he took, and I'm not a doctor. I play one on TV, but I'm not a doctor. Some of the medicines that he took are steroids, are made to make you feel better, with the symptoms still being there. And so his own doctor said, well, he's not out the woods. But I personally, I needed this to be more seriously. So he goes in the hospital. Was it Friday? Well, Saturday, was it Saturday? He's driving around, waving to his supporters. Again, that's the dog whistle. You know, um, to us, that's strange. Okay, and that's the dog whistle. To us, it's strange. To his supporters, oh, that's the best thing in the world. It's a rally cry. Um, and I think that rally cry was in the wrong way. In my opinion, it's in the wrong way. We thank you all for tuning in. Please write down your comments and share with us, enlighten us on what you think about uh, President Trump being tested positive. Um, and then I was thrown back because he has so many ploys, he has so many tricks, he has so many tactics. In my opinion, it was treated like, oh, that's just another one of Trump's things. And I knew, and
Mhm.
Jada and I, we talked about it probably Thursday. I was like, if he comes through this, he's going to downplay.
Yeah.
He's going to downplay this whole virus. 200,000 people died. That's not a little number, you know. And so I was like, if he comes through this, he's going to downplay the whole situation.
Mhm.
And so that's why I felt like I needed him to have it a little
Mhm.
harder.
Mhm.
I needed it to hit him a little harder.
Mhm.
So then the whole world can see, hey,
Mhm.
this ain't okay.
Part of the white supremacist view, which is what he has, is that they've identified the fact that it's hitting minorities more. Okay, and it's harsher for us. So one of the things that they are, and one of the things that he's doing is he's putting out the image that it's not that bad for us. We're good, business as usual, and let them deal with the consequences or the aftermath when they get hit by it. Because it's not gonna hurt you. Go on, and we know what's gonna happen to them.
Mhm.
Don't wear your mask. Keep doing what you're doing, because you're gonna be good.
Mhm.
And to me, that is the most asinine thing that I have ever seen. And it shows you where his mindset is. He has no regard for the United States citizens.
Mhm.
He has, especially the lower class, the ones that aren't privileged. And the fact that he endangered his staff to take him on a joyride while infected shows you where his mindset is. He lives and walks in the office of president as if he's still on The Apprentice or some type of reality show. He thinks it's about photo opportunities and his image, and he set up his discharge to have a photo op. There's no president that has to walk upstairs on the outside of the White House. He chose to do that so that he could be seen and go up there and take a picture. They take them safely inside, and there's elevators and stairs inside. He went up outside. Now think about it. How much of a risk is that for security? They wouldn't have done that. It was all part of his plan to have this grand, photo opportunity on that terrace.
And so I think that um, we still have to be careful.
Mhm.
Um, he's our leader. We have to pray for our leader. Um, Along with that, he's done some really treacherous things, in my opinion. Um, so the effects from, I think he spent a day or two in the hospital. He's tweeting in the hospital. He says, I understand. I think one of his first tweets was he understand this disease. He said he went to school. He didn't read about it in the book. He went to school, and we can beat this. He feels good. His next tweet, and this is the next subject I want to talk about, is the effects from his actions and his comments. Because his next tweet, and I think he tweeted this before he left the hospital. Um, One of the things he said was he felt better than he has in 20 years. One of the things he said was, don't let COVID-19 dominate or control. I forgot the word that he used, but paraphrasing, don't let COVID-19 control your life. I thought that was very thoughtless, in the fact that we haven't got on top of this.
Right. Absolutely.
We haven't even met the curve. We don't have a cure. We don't have a vaccination. And then 200,000 plus people. I just thought that was the most wrongest, if that's the word,
Heartless.
thoughtless
Mhm.
thing to say.
Mhm.
And I knew
Yeah.
that if he came through, he was going to downplay the whole thing. One of the other tweets that he said was, he compared it to the flu. And so many tweets in the last couple of days have been taken down because of bad information or false information. But before they took it down, millions have seen it, that he compared COVID with the flu. And, there is not a cure, but there is help. There's treatment for the flu. There's no treatment for corona. So I knew that he was going to paint the picture. Hey, let's get back to work. Let's get back to business as usual. I beat it. You can too. It leaves out the marginalized. It leaves out the disenfranchised. It leaves out the people of color. But not just people of color. We are not the only ones that's dying.
Right.
So it leaves out a whole lot of people that's been affected and will be affected from this virus as if it was nothing. I did it, you can do it too. So go ahead. He won't wear a mask.
He won't wear a mask.
And so the effects is mind-blowing to me. I think that we should be at outrage. We should be in the uproar for the actions of the last couple of days. I mean, because Thursday we knew what was happening. Whether he had it or not, we knew how he was going to twist it.
Right.
And how he twisted it, how he turned it out is exactly what we thought. What you got to say? His comments, brutal.
Brutal.
When Twitter and Facebook take it down for bad information. How, like you said, how do we have a person that's not a professional in the field making so many decisions?
Well, my opinion on that is he can't relate to the average person. He's never had that experience, number one. So when you look at that, he's portraying just who he is. He was tested and flown to the hospital within 24 hours with a positive result. Most people have been waiting 7 days to get a result. That's now improving, but what happens after you get a positive? What do they tell you to do? There's no chopper sitting in your yard to take you to the hospital, and you don't have a team of doctors. He had more doctors than people see in their entire lives.
Well, that goes with the territory. I do understand.
Right. But for him to say, I beat this, don't let it control you. He beat this because he had a different level of care than the average American. Nobody walks in and a team of doctors swarms them to approach and help them with a virus that's deadly. They're avoiding them. Most hospitals aren't accepting patients. They're telling you to stay home.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, the longer that you have it, the higher the viral load gets and the sicker you get. So the fact that he got treatment within the first 24 hours that most of us would have had to be nearly dying to get shows you the difference in the care and the difference in the outcomes. The second piece is those medications he got are well over $100,000. They don't talk about that piece. So who does he think is going to pay for that for the average American if and when these trials are complete and they make it readily available? Right now, they're trying it in people when their viral loads are already high. So he's already at an advantage because he's been given something to prevent the virus from replicating in his body when no one else has that available to them.
And that's why I feel like he should be or have more empathy. I understand the privilege that comes with, no, I don't. But I can see the privilege that comes with being the leader of the free world. I understand that. That you're gonna get the best of the best, no matter if you're Trump or Obama, you're gonna get the best of the best. I understand that. I don't understand the empathy, the lack of empathy.
Yep.
I don't understand the lack of intelligence.
Right, and that was exactly my point. That nowhere in his mind did he say, "Wow, if only we could do this for them," or wow, I could see how these people, because I know that when he first got hit, it scared him. And that's why he went to the hospital, because he had episodes of shortness of breath and his oxygen level dropping. And I think that glimpse was frightening to him. And instead of him taking that and saying, you know what, I see what the American people are dealing with, and I am so sorry for what you're going through, because he really missed an opportunity to gain supporters that are wavering, because he didn't handle that correctly. If he would have taken that and said, oh, I need to step up my game. I need to make sure they have better access. I need to make sure these drug companies are on top of treatment options. Instead, he made a mockery of that. So what do you do now? And then turn around and say, oh, I'm cutting off all support on the next round of stimulus because we're going to wait till after the election.
Yeah.
That's not a good reason. So now he's trying to force people to choose him to get $1,200. So are you trying to buy votes? And what are they supposed to eat until November 8th? What are these families supposed to do? So that shows you his mindset. Everything he does is calculated and manipulative to improve his outcome or what his agenda is.
And now there's over 50 million people out of work. So you're going to wait till after voting?
And it's dangerous. It's overall, it's dangerous to downplay the seriousness of this virus, COVID-19, the coronavirus, at a time where the doctors and scientists says that it's about to go up, and we see it. It's still steady going up.
Well, let me say this. One thing about it, he's very consistent in everything that he does, because he left Milana at the White House. Now, if I was tested positive for real and Milana had it, we would both go to the hospital. How do you leave her at home? She's a part of the White House. She's a part of him. You know, I mean, he's very,
just in case she got worse.
Yeah.
Bring her.
Yeah, because he wasn't worse. One of the doctors said he really has no symptoms. And I know he got fired. I didn't see him anymore, but you know, he's very consistent in what he's doing. And that's why we can't fall into the trap, because I'm very frustrated, and I was frustrated back in February. But the more, it's like every day something else is added to that to kindle the fire. So we have probably got to drop that and drop on our knees, because at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen, because the saints and the people are becoming very upset at what's going on. This is like a comic book. This is not even like a real life situation. I would hate to tell my little grandbabies that's growing up the situation that we're experiencing right now.
It's unbelievable.
And again, the clowns called and said, "Hey, don't compare that to us. We take our job serious."
So listen, if he was feeling bad by Thursday, how many people did he contaminate? Because how long does it take you to really know that you're feeling bad?
Yeah, because they will not confirm when his last negative test was.
Yeah,
which means
they won't confirm. There's a reason.
They had done one.
And they pushed that date all the way up to 20 days now. They said on the news it could be up to 20 days before you realize you have corona.
And every day more people in his cabinet or his circle are testing positive, which shows you the lack and the difference in the time it takes for a person to turn positive, because they didn't have a positive right away. And now 4 or 5 days later, they're positive. And then you'll see more become positive from that. So that's how it replicates so quickly, because these people are going about business as usual. They're doing a debate tonight. Pence was definitely around Trump. There's no denying it.
They're gonna be 12 feet apart
with plexiglass.
But look how close they have been. Look how close they are. The proximity. They didn't wear masks.
They were hugging.
Yes. Now, our little president of Notre Dame,
Yeah.
I heard he came down with it.
Okay.
He was at the event. Yeah.
And it's possible that when Trump introduced the Supreme Court judge or
Mhm.
nominee,
Mhm.
that well, it was several people
Mhm,
there that
mhm,
has tested positive since
Mhm.
being there.
mhm,
Just careless. And then again, our leader, careless acts.
mhm,
It is really troubling.
mhm.
Let's go through the medicines that he got. And can you tell us the few he got? I think he got oxygen, dexamethasone.
Dexter. Mhm.
Did he get a shot of bleach?
Yeah.
They give him some
Lysol.
hydrochloric.
High dose Lysol
Mhm.
and bleach.
Let's run through that. Tell us what it's for and what it does.
So,
Let's start off with oxygen. They gave him a lot of oxygen.
well, oxygen is air. Just kidding.
Mhm.
So they noticed, okay, so there's a reading that you do when a person is sick with something like this that affects your lungs, and it's called your O2 saturation. It basically tracks the amount of oxygen circulating in your bloodstream. So when that starts to drop, it puts, you know, that it's putting a strain on your organs, number one, and enough oxygen isn't being supplied to the body from the lungs, which kind of shows you that there's something going on. So they didn't say the numbers, but they said his O2 levels dropped dramatically several times throughout that first 24 hours. They also said, and if you pay attention, that they did several scans of his lungs, and they saw findings in line with what they would expect to see. Never did they say normal. Anytime you do a scan or a test, you know the first thing that they will say, if it's normal, is normal findings. They never said that, which tells you that they saw something in the scan, either something that could have been a pre-existing condition or something that resulted from the coronavirus. So they know that, so there was definitely something there. Now, so that's the reason for the oxygen. The dexamethasone is being used. Not only was it used in him, but it's being used in treatment in our coronavirus patients in the hospitals when those O2 levels drop severely low, and it's used in severe asthmatics to help to stimulate the body and try to drive. Basically, pushes you into overdrive. Kind of like you see a bodybuilder that uses a steroid to kind of give them additional strength and stamina and power in a sense. That's the same thing that these steroids will do for a sick person. So when he says he feels better than he has in 10 or 20 years, it's because these steroids are giving him a false sense of strength or well-being. It's masking the symptoms. So that's why they were saying he's not really out of the woods, because he's still taking these steroids. They have to taper you down off of those, so they can't just dramatically stop them, because if they do, everything will hit you at once. So they kind of wean you off of them to see how you're going to respond over a period of time. And that's what they're doing with him. So he's still on them. And that's why they're saying he's not technically out of the woods, because his levels could be improving and they remove the steroids and they see that something's still going on that was masked by these medications. Steroids are cheap, readily available, and something that the layperson in a hospital could have access to, but they don't give them until you're in respiratory distress. So they wouldn't come in and say, here's some steroids, let's get you going. They give them to you after you kind of, shown or presented with symptoms. They've given them, of course, vitamin C, zinc, just the normal things that we saw. They listed some of those. And then he got some clinical trial medications, Regeneron. That is very rare. That has only been used in patients whose viral loads have been extremely high and or they've been extremely sick, to see how they would respond to this. And this drug prevents the virus from replicating in the body. When a virus like this gets in the body, it basically makes copies of itself, for the simplest way of saying it. And this drug will prevent it from being able to duplicate itself or replicate itself in the body. And it's very important that he got it early, because when the virus first gets into your body, if you think about it, they're swabbing your nose or your mouth. It starts the replication process in those areas. It takes time for it to get into the lungs, where it causes a lot of the damage. And if you look at the images of the coronavirus, it looks spiky, and the best way that I could kind of make it relatable is this is sticker bug or sticky bugs, the little things when you were a kid that would stick to your pants, the very little spiky things. And if you got in a cluster of them, they would join together.
Mhm.
That's kind of how the outside of this virus is. When it gets inside of your body or inside of the lungs, it sticks or adheres to the surface, and it's hard to detach it from when it attaches to those areas. And then it'll replicate and it'll duplicate itself and continue to stick. So they give these medications that will prevent that from happening, most importantly, inside the lungs. So if they tested him early and the virus is still replicating, potentially causing a little sore throat or drainage, and it hasn't already attached itself inside of the lungs, it will prevent it from getting as severe as it would if you didn't catch it early. So the biggest factor is how long it's been, how long you've had it, and how long it's been replicating in the body. So they gave him things to stop that early in the process. We don't have that advantage.
Right. Everybody else is sent home.
We're sent home to let this virus replicate, and then when you can't breathe, and
Mhm.
there's millions of copies in your body,
Mhm.
not millions, but that's when they want to address you or they want to help you. And that's why it's so hard to predict how it's going to act in each situation, because you don't know how many copies it's made, where it's attached, how it's attached, and what
Mhm.
it's doing to that person's body. And that's where all of these other symptoms and other problems are coming from in these patients.
Just a question: is it safe to say, or could you say, for like the severe, and some people test positive, and the next day seem like they just go down straight
Mhm.
downhill. Is it possible that they inhaled it so hard that it got to their lungs?
I mean,
if-
that's a theory.
you know,
Yeah. And if you look at, they're saying that it's more more contraction. It's more heavily contracted in areas of confinement with singing or forceful movement of the virus, because it's a particle. So it's definitely moving as fast as it's driven in that direction. So that could definitely be a part of it. And the other thing they gave him is, besides the Regeneron, they called it a cocktail because they also gave him something that contained antibodies from people who had previously had it. And that's similar to, the most relatable thing would be a vaccine, because now it's giving you a false sense of protection. It's providing antibodies, and antibodies is what your body builds to protect you from a particular virus or disease that approaches the body. So they gave him antibody therapy on top of the therapy that will prevent it from replicating. So he got a lot of things that would make sense to why he turned around so fast, and why you don't see that in most people.
so he got a super boost, and that explains why he felt as best as he did in 20 years.
But the studies aren't done. They're not complete. They don't know the long-term effects of the things that they gave him. They don't know if, again, it's a false security. So it will be very interesting to see how this plays out later, because what if it's not, what if it wasn't the safest thing? What if it wasn't the best thing? But I think they have a pretty good idea, or they wouldn't have did it. But it's always, and that's why they kept saying, oh, he's not out of the woods yet, because of, number one, the steroids, but also these therapies, they don't have long-term studies on them to say what will happen 3 months from now, 3 years from now, because they just developed them.
Now, let me ask you this: would those, or would that same regimen work in a more severe case?
The case becomes severe when it's not treated.
Okay.
So it will help prevent potential death.
I only ask, I don't mean to cut you off, but I only ask because, some people get it, no symptoms. Some people get it, minor symptoms. And then some people just,
Die.
yeah, like seem like overnight. And so I know it reacts different in different bodies. But that same regimen in a severe case.
It will help, absolutely.
Okay.
It will definitely help. But The other thing is maybe the person didn't go like this. Maybe they didn't address it. So some people will say, "Oh, I just had a little cough." I know a person that thought they had food poisoning and is now very ill in the hospital because they thought they had food poisoning when the initial symptoms came. They didn't know, and that's why we have to know our bodies and we have to be cautious, because what you may think is the normal cold or your allergies, if there's anything different about it, you need to address it. We can't ignore it because that's giving the virus time to gain strength in your body and replicate. So that's what we're seeing. So some of these people may have been walking around with it and then just hit the brick wall because now there's so many copies that they can't overcome.
Well, now, okay, so I mean, I understand what you just said, but 15 minutes ago, we were talking about they're going to send you home anyway. They're not going to give you anything. They're going to send you home. If you have a cough, a sneeze, or runny nose or sore throat, if you go to the doctor, they're going to send you home. If you test positive 2 weeks later, they're going to tell you to self quarantine.
But if you have underlying health conditions, it's important that you cannot let that happen. You have to fight for yourself. If you have to go to the emergency room every day, or if you have to go to your family doctor's office, somebody needs to be aware of what you're dealing with, because some of those, like if you have COPD or, some of these disease states, you can't fight it at home. They will find you dead in your home.
Right. And
So that's what's happening
yes.
to our underprivileged areas or our people, because they don't have an advocate. They don't have someone saying, "Oh no, this is something different." They're just like, "Well, what was me? I'm just sick." So it's a catch-22, because now we don't have the power that the president has to say, "Yeah, give me the works."
And then I think they hide behind the fact that these are only practice drugs. They haven't
hmm
been proven, and or they're too expensive.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to pull that out if you don't have insurance. Believe you me, Medicaid is not going to get you these high-cost trial drugs.
In which
Steroids maybe, but
it sounds like it may help, um, at least in fighting or containing the virus.
and that's the drawback of the drug industry, and a lot of different ones in the same space, because now they have a monopoly on a product and a demand, and they're going to increase the cost until someone is smart enough to copy it, and then the cost will drop. So how many people will die while they're playing a game of chess, or to keep the cost high, and the demand high, instead of saying, "Hey, this is as simple as a bottle of Dasani. Just use that because it's sitting there." But it could potentially be a very simple, treatment that they're not sharing because they have the power to hold it close to the chest and make money off of it.
But now there is a proven fact that certain vitamins and a good diet can help you fight. You have a real fighting chance. Even going to the hospital, I know some people that's been sent home several times.
Yeah, and there's some people, and that's part of the reason why some people don't get as ill as others as well. They take better care of themselves. They have a better diet. They have a better immune system. They have the ability to fight for themselves readily without steroids or medication. So and then you see people that you would put your last dollar on to say they are 100% healthy, they'll come out fine. The actress whose husband died, he was 41, healthy, and it killed him.
Yeah.
So, you can't really predict. And there's a lot of things that go on in the body that you can't see. Maybe he wasn't healthy. We don't know that. But you have people who weigh 105 pounds and run every day that have heart attacks. So it's similar to that. You can't look at a person and say, yes, they're healthy. No, they're not. We can't do it. If we could, it would be a lot better, overall in terms of healthcare, but that's not how it works.
Well, I'm interested in knowing, as far as our listeners are concerned, most of them have been tuning in since March, maybe March. I'm interested in knowing how many have put forth the effort to change their eating habits, change their diet, eating foods that will actually boost the immune system. How many of them are taking vitamins now? How many are even drinking green and black tea and the different herbs? I'm kind of interested in if we're just saying this and they're just listening but not doing it, or if they're really trying to help themselves.
Mhm.
It's about helping yourself because you can go to the hospital 5 or 6 times and get sent home 5 or 6 times with nothing because they're saying there is really nothing they can give you. And they're saying buy aspirin, make sure you have aspirin, make sure you have this, that, and the other. But if you really build your immune system up, you do have even with underlying conditions, you do have a fighting chance.
And that's why I wanted to do this show. That's why we're here. If it's 14 people, if it's 2 people, that's why I wanted to do this show, because we felt early on that this was serious, and it may affect us heavier than regular people.
Mhm.
And the same example you gave, we look at that with all of our disease states. Okay, you're diabetic. What do? They go home and eat cake. So it's the same thing. We have to take our health seriously in all aspects, because if you don't take care of you, why are you expecting them to? So they're looking at you like, I can tell you ain't following none of the rules because you have this, you have that. You can go home and I'll take care of her because she's at least trying. And that's what we're dealing with. That's how they're choosing who they're going to help. So we have to take onus of ourselves and our body and say, okay, here's what I'm dealing with. I know I have high blood pressure. What am I doing? Look in the book. I mean, these days we have Google. Google can probably tell you more than your doctors are these days because they don't have time for you.
Right.
So you're right. It's all about what we choose to do for ourselves.
And we started years ago.
Mhm.
You started years ago telling the saints, ask questions, make your doctor spend time with you. If you don't understand, record it. Have somebody with you that can ask questions and understand what the doctor is telling us. And we knew when we heard that this didn't affect Black people, we got busy then.
Mhm.
And so if if it's only one person that takes heed, then we've done our job.
But now we have a glimpse. So even if they send you home, okay, that's fine. You're gonna send me home. Well, I need some dexamethasone. I need some zinc. I need some vitamin C, right? Because now we have a glimpse into what they're doing. I need some nebulizer treatments. Give me some prescriptions so that I can take care of myself. Because now I know if it worked for him, potentially it can help me. It won't hurt. So we have, and that's what I mean by we got to say something. We got to, you saw the list on TV just like everybody else. Write it down, because when you talk to your doctor and they say there's nothing I can do, guess what? There is something you can do. You can do this and you can do that, and this is what I want. And if you have questions, that's what we're here for. Call us. We will definitely tell you what will help you in your situation.
And another thing is I've been listening and they're dealing with dehydration. The average person is dehydrated. So that's simple. Water is free. If you can't hydrate yourself, that's one step towards building up your immunity, which is free. I know we're buying bottled water, but we don't have a clue what's in that water.
And another thing along that is water follows salt. So if you're yelling dehydrated and you're consuming a lot of sodium, it is exiting your body with that sodium. You're drying yourself out. So you have to look at the big picture. You have to know and think smarter and try to give yourself a fighting chance, because that alone can kill you.
Right.
And again, we have to be careful in what we do, how we do, and the things that we eat. We have to arm ourselves as best we can to stay out of harm's way. Sister Mother Mars said that was excellent, First Lady. But she just gave us a glimpse of the medicines and how they act and respond in the body.
And one other thing to add with that, on top of everything that we're saying tonight, stay at home.
Yes.
That's major. Staying at home is a major part of
It's
your
major.
survival.
That's majorly major.
Mhm.
And I'm glad you said that because it leads me to my last segue to my last subject, and that's the CDC. They finally came out and said that this virus is airborne.
Mhm.
Not surprising,
Not at all.
but alarming that they should have said this almost a year ago.
Mhm.
Half year. It's October. They should have
Mhm.
said that at least 10 months ago.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's alarming in that it seems like there's another organization, another person
Mhm.
with their fingers on the CDC. The CDC should be there to help us,
Right.
to guide us,
Mhm.
uh, to navigate through these viruses, and not just Corona.
Mhm.
It's a lot of viruses
Mhm.
that comes through that is deadly,
Mhm.
and it just seems like they're being contained as to the information that they give out and allowed to give out, and that's scary within itself.
Well, we just saw a glimpse of it. When this happened with the White House, the CDC came in and said, "Oh, we'll do the contact tracing and help you to pinpoint." Oh no, we don't need that.
Mhm.
So it's politics.
Mhm.
The administration, the Trump administration, is controlling what they're allowed to do and say, and it's all politically motivated. He does not want anything to get out that will hinder him from being reelected, and or he wants it to come out, just like he's trying to now force them to approve this vaccine before the election,
Right.
so
Right.
that now that gives him a boost to say, my administration came up with this vaccine. So it's a game, and it's a game. It's a deadly game. They're playing
And
with people's lives.
They are. And look at our babies that are going to school. It's natural for a baby or a child to put their hand in the mouth. I mean, they're going to touch things. What is the deal with, okay, now we have 2 students that tested positive. We close school up for 2 days. All of the teachers have to be quarantined. And then we come back in 2 days. Something is wrong with that picture. Why are we doing this? That really doesn't make sense to me.
Not
I
even
don't
enough
understand
time.
the logic of, I don't understand it. And then if you're in a confined room with a person that has corona, the longer you're in that room with them, the worse off, according to what the medical doctors are saying, the worse off you're going to be, because you're sitting there inhaling that for a long period of time. Even if the windows are open, even if you do have the air conditioner on, even if there is circulation, it's not enough.
It's not enough. And they finally came out and said whether you're inside or outside is just as bad. It's just as bad. It's not. I guess outside may be a little better than inside due to the circulation and the ventilation, but it's just as worse. So if you're in a crowd inside or a crowd outside,
Right. If
Mhm.
you're not far enough apart, because the particles are still, if you think about it, they gradually increase the distance. 4 feet, 6 feet, 12 feet. Okay. So that's showing you, based on the size of the particle, how far it can go and how long it can stay in the air. And that's what they mean by it, because it's now, they're seeing it linger and stay more.
Mhm. Yeah. So it's really, when you really look at it, if God doesn't keep the house, if God doesn't keep us, we won't be kept. We won't be kept. It'll take God to do it.
it'll take God to do it.
Mhm.
And our hope, our trust, our faith is in God. It's
Yes.
not in Trump.
Mhm.
It's not in what he say. It's not in what he do.
Mhm.
And it's not even in the election.
Mhm.
They started early voting for Indiana yesterday, so get out to the polls. But it's not in the voting,
No.
because if Biden win, we're gonna have a problem with him.
Well, actually, whoever they want to win is going to win. I mean, they know how to finagle and play with that stuff. I'm at the point where I've been there. I don't have any confidence in them at all.
Yeah.
They can pull off whatever they want to pull off, however they want to do it.
And so our from day one, our confidence is in God. Our confidence is in Jesus Christ. He's the only one that can lead us and guide us and navigate us through this time and this season. And that's where our focus is. Our focus is not at the White House.
No, no.
Our focus is not on the news engines. Our focus is on Jesus Christ. He allowed us this time to get close to him. And we thank God for Lady Jackson. She said that a guest came from the health department to their jurisdiction conference. And they called Monday and said that the church had a large event. A church in their jurisdiction had a large event in which 80 choir members contracted COVID. Now, that's alarming because
Is that recently? I mean, like everybody's still quarantined.
well,
We had a convocation.
You shouldn't be at
We had a
church.
jurisdictional fair with 80 choir members that
let
That's a
alone
big event.
we,
choir.
no, we already know what time it is and what's going on. Are we still doing that?
Well,
We have,
we had an
Well, we have-
incident.
We have patients here locally that contracted it, and the entire choir has it.
I thought we were doing viral. Is it virtual, viral, Zooming? They were actually in the building, that many people?
Oh, not in their jurisdiction. It was someone in Michigan. It was a church in Michigan.
Wow.
So the health department came to their jurisdictional conference.
Wow.
It's
Well, they said the church and the bar and the restaurant were the three worst places to be.
and so they quickly trying to get back to normal.
Yeah.
President Trump claims to be a man of faith, and one of his remember he said by Easter we'll be back. We'd be back in service, and most churches just don't have the ventilation capability. Most churches don't have the space to really social distance.
Well, most churches are full of obesity. So out of the 80 choir members that contracted it, I mean, they already starting out with a minus. So what do we do? What do we do now? Where do we do? How do
Well,
we use wisdom?
I think the pastors have to stand up and say, "Hey, I'm not feeling this. I don't think it's quite all the way safe. Let's shut down. Let's go virtual until we can get on top of this." We have some clients that claim they called it at choir rehearsal or in the choir stand, and the whole choir has got infected. That's the pastor's fault, in my opinion. The numbers have not been where I've been comfortable into opening. At New Jerusalem, we have the space to social distance to a certain degree. Our sanctuary is large enough to social distance. I haven't felt okay or comfortable with opening the doors. It's just too risky. And we have some members with underlying conditions. We don't know how this virus act or react in individuals. Going to the grocery store is risky enough. To have service at this point in time, I think it's irresponsible. In my opinion, it's irresponsible. Now, if you have the space, and we have the space, but if you have the space and can properly do this, people are still showing up positive. So I just think it's irresponsible on the leader. I know why they do it, but I think it's irresponsible.
Hmm.
And so we have to, um, our job is to shepherd. We have to lead the people and put them in the best position to be successful as possible. And having church right now is not putting the people in a good position. We have members with underlying conditions. We have members with uh, respirational issues or diabetics or high blood, whatever. Um, that's just the extra risk, in my opinion. And so we pray that God will keep people, that God will cover the people. We give them every week good information. Um, it's up to the people what they're going to do with it. I told New Jerusalem at the beginning of the year that this is our year of victory, but it was up to you. I didn't know 3 months later
Wow.
we was gonna have to shut down.
Mhm.
I preached that in January. We had to close down in March.
Mhm.
This is our year of victory, but it's up to you. So it's up to you if you're gonna take the information and apply it to your life. And right now, going to church is not the thing to do. Okay, we done got smart and we got outside church. Well, the CDC has said it's airborne. We got the praise teams 12 feet apart outside. The CDC said it's airborne. I guess the administration has allowed them to come out with that information. It's still not safe. Still not safe. And so we're going to do this virtual until we can get on top of it. We thank you for your help. We thank you for your support. We thank you for your prayers. We thank you for your concerns. And I will say it again, your church needs you more than ever. Your church needs you more than ever. And so we ask that you be a blessing to the ministry. Wherever ministry you go to, be a blessing to your ministry. Pray for your ministry. Pray for me. I need it. I need your prayers. Because this is uncharted territory. I'm trying to navigate through this thing too. We want to bring the best possible program to you. We want to give you. We have a doctor.
We have a doctor.
We have a doctor.
Amen.
And I thought about bringing a medical doctor on staff, but what better person to tell us what the medicine does? The doctor can prescribe it, but she can tell us what it does.
Right.
And so we have professional in the medical field, and then we have a professional in common sense.
Common sense.
And that's what we need to use. It's just common sense. And as leaders, as pastors, we need to use common sense. And if God don't get us through this, and it's going to take God, because I hate to be the bearer of bad news, it's going to get worse. They are already claiming by the first of the year, another 200,000 people dying. Now, from March to October, it's been about 200,000 people. They saying from October to January, it's going to be another 200,000 people. And I pray that we don't glory in other people's misfortune, but I pray that it won't be none of us. I pray that it won't be none of the people of God. I pray that we use good sense, we use wisdom, and we let God use us and lead us.
Right.
If God don't help us, then because we can't do this by ourselves anyway. We ain't came this far on our knowledge.
No.
We ain't came this far on our doing. We don't know where this disease, this virus lie. So we need God to help us.
Absolutely.
So we're going to do our part as leaders, and then we're going to need you all to do your part.
Absolutely.
And this is a year of victory.
Right.
It's up to you.
It's up to you.
It's up to you. The prophet told the king to strike the ground. However many times you strike the ground is how many times you going to defeat your enemy. Strike the ground. It's up to you. And so This is our year of victory. Things have slowed down for us, and thank God.
Right.
This is a great opportunity, and we say it almost every show.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great opportunity to get close to God,
Mm-hmm.
to get in His face,
Right.
fall at His feet.
Right.
You know, and so let's really take advantage of this time we have
Mm-hmm.
with God
Mm-hmm.
and see what He's saying for our life.
Absolutely.
And so that's all I got today. What you got, me? We thank you all for tuning in. We hope all is well. We cancel the assignment of the enemy.
Right,
We cancel
right.
sickness,
Yes.
disease,
Yes.
virus. We cancel the assignment of the enemy on every hand. We bind the
Yes.
devil
Bind it.
on every hand. He can treat us. He has to respect us.
Mm.
In the matchless name of Jesus Christ, we
Yes,
pray.
God.
If this ministry has been a blessing, we ask that you would be a blessing to us. We ask that you would help us. We have big dreams, big endeavors. Help us spread the good news of Jesus Christ all over the world. And we thank you for your support. We thank you for your prayers. We thank you for your contributions. We thank you for your comments, your concerns, the chat room. Minister Marsh, Mother Marsh, Jackson's, Mother Lugo, Brother Peter. I'm not really sure whose Peter is, but Peter, let us know who you are. Peter Bands, we thank God for you tuning in. Sister Keisha, huh? I'm not sure. Let us know. Is that Sister Jada said it's who? Oh, is that you, Pee Wee Marsh?
Wait a minute.
Let us know. You incognito if it is, but we thank God for you tuning in. Again, we don't take this time lightly. We thank you for tuning in. If you missed the broadcast, you can go back through and listen. We just want to give you good. Oh, that's Pee Wee. Okay, we want to give you good information so you can to help navigate you through life. It is with Jesus' joy we come to you. We look forward to every Wednesday, and so we thank God for you tuning in. Until next time, we say God bless you, we miss you, and we love you.
God bless you.